Hello and welcome to Power to the People with me, Graeme Pryce. As I've mentioned before, I do like to watch a good live debate on YouTube. There's not much I like seeing more than a misinformed MAGA crap for brains moron or a radicalised far-right wrong'un being forced to take their medicine and admit that they don't have a clue what they're talking about and usually don't know what they voted for. I think we might be seeing quite a few conversations like that before the next local elections. I think this is the big difference between Tory voters and Reform voters, though they're both drifting further and further into far-right rhetoric on the same path. There's a lot of Tory voters that knew and know exactly what they're voting for. They want a government that will hurt poor people and disabled people and various minorities. They might be too stupid to know which individual policies they support to achieve that, but they know the ideology and they generally agree with it. Reform voters haven't got a clue what they're voting for and they don't know the ideology. They've just been convinced that Labour and the Tories are both bad, and they've been assaulted with so much right-wing bullshit on social media that they think Reform are the obvious third option. Well, I doubt many of them will watch this video. A few might watch the first 30 seconds and then storm off into the comments to throw a poorly spelt insult at me. But they won't go much further. And they certainly won't explain why they thought any of what I'm about to say would benefit them. Partly because they'll turn on the MAGA mentality and defend Farage no matter what. And partly because most of them just don't know any of this. Again, they don't have a clue what they voted for. But I know what they voted for. And I'll tell you, right after this. I was just looking at my channel analytics and I was shocked to discover that almost 40% of people who watch my videos aren't subscribed. I was inconsolable. You can go some way towards redressing the balance by just checking that you've subscribed, that you've rang the bell, and that you're hitting the like button before you go. Now, there's quite a lot to say here, so I'll just jump right into it. There are now 5 Reform MPs in the House of Commons. Well, last month, there were just 4. All 4 voted against increasing maternity rights, though, and all 4 voted against the Workers' Rights Bill, so they're not on the side of new mothers and they're not on the side of workers. Apparently on the doorsteps, the biggest complaints about Labour were the reduction in PIP and welfare. Nigel Farage has often spoken out in criticism of such social safety nets and would implement an agenda of welfare cuts that would make the Tories look generous if Reform ever got into government. Those disabled people that he wants to cut the benefits of use the NHS more frequently than a lot of us, don't they? The NHS that Nigel sees the dismantling of as just another project to fool the public into accepting in the way he did with Brexit and the way he's trying to do now with leaving the ECHR. But he said it would still be free at the point of use on Twitter. He's a liar. He's said the opposite of that loads of times. He's also said that we should pay for GP appointments. It's not hard to find. You can go and Google it. Why look for truth when you can get simple, comforting lies from Nigel on Twitter, eh? I would guess a lot of Reform voters live in a van or a bush or a skip behind a kebab shop. But there will be a few that own houses and have a mortgage. Of course, they're entirely unaware that Reform is taking advice from Liz Truss. You know, the crazy, daft, leftist bitch that made the economy crash and forced everybody's mortgages to rise. Of course, one of the main reasons Reform have done well in local elections is because by far they have the biggest social media presence and the support of the world's richest radicalised idiot. So there is money in Reform, but it's not in the hands of the voters, no. And it never will be, because they've decided to support a party that wants to give obscene tax breaks to millionaires and billionaires. Maybe I'm giving them too much credit. Maybe it is just the pointing and shouting at people brown people in small boats. If it is, it's worth remembering that Nigel Farage is at least 50% responsible for that crisis, the other 50% being the Tories. They were warned that Brexit would lead to mass cross-channel migration because of leaving the Dublin Agreement. Farage called it Project Fear and ignored it, and the Tories also called it Project Fear and ignored it and lied about it on the news. Farage finally admitted during an interview for LBC that Brexit had been a failure eventually. Yet so many people were somehow convinced he's worth trusting one more time. I wonder if they'd accept their friends and family lying to them just as easily as they accept it from Reform UK and Nigel Farage. Let's just have one last example of their rank hypocrisy. Farage immediately jumped into his fake farmer outfit and dashed off to join the farmers' protest last year, doing his affable man of the people act. Lee Anderson was all over it every day, posting lies, misinformation and fake graphs on Twitter in support of our farming community. That all changed when Trump took office though, because Nigel is so far up Trump's arse that he's wearing his fat orange colon like a scarf. And Donald wants to hate the EU, and Nigel likes that. So now it's basically fuck the farmers. Buy Trump's chlorinated chicken and genetically modified crop produce. What a fucking liberty, the cheeky bastard. He doesn't even try to hide his hypocrisy anymore, because he knows he can just paper it over with lies and misinformation about his opponents or about his actions on social media, and his Nazi mate, sissy fucking SpaceX in America, will ensure that every British person that goes on Twitter sees Nigel Farage's lies before anything else that day. So if there are any Reform voters still watching at this point, you go ahead and leave a comment explaining why you voted for all this. Or at least have the common decency to admit you didn't actually know what you were voting for. I won't hold my breath. Thank you for watching if you've gotten this far. The police will tell you that ignorance of the law is no excuse, and I tend to think the same applies here, to an extent. It's not 1955, and people have no excuse for being so misinformed in a world with the whole compendium of human knowledge at their fingertips every single day, often for free. They're walking around with a supercomputer in their pockets that could have told them all of these things that I've just said. Farage has left a trail of deceit, disgrace and destruction behind him in all the years he's been in the public domain, and none of it is secret. It's all out there for anybody with half a brain cell to find, and it's irrefutable. It's not my opinion that Nigel Farage is a racist liar. There's mountains of evidence. So it seems we have a whole swathe of the UK public who have a MAGA mentality now, and Reform are going to try and capitalise on that. They're going to try and make the fullest use of the fact that if half of the people in the country are of average intelligence, then 50% of the public might be dumb enough to vote for them again. It's only a matter of time until we see the exact same playbook and tactics as Trump has used. I predict little light blue hats with mega on them make England great again. Only it's already great, and what Reform want is the complete fucking opposite. Anyway, if you want to support the channel, there are links to PayPal, Patreon and the Buy Me a Coffee page, protesting peacefully, in the description box. And as always, the join button for memberships is below. It's very much appreciated. Now obviously that isn't all I have to say, but it is as much of what I've got to say as I'm going to say today. Ta-da. Farage called it Project Fear and the Tories ignored it. He lied to every single person in this... every single cunt in this person. Oh, I think I'm swearing by accident, making up new swear words. Dumbass.